Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, to May's Caregiver Solutions. Thank you for joining us. Our topic this month is happiness habits, and we are grateful to have Jill Smith from Buckeye Hospice Care with us today. Thank you for joining us, Jill.
Absolutely.
Um, a little background on Jill. In 1976, after only 1 week, Jill was voted Best Girl Camper at Surprise Valley Youth Camp in Beckley, West Virginia. That set her up for a lifetime of success and overachievement. She has been the pastor of Faith Fellowship Baptist Church for almost 14 years and worked in hospice for 6 years. Since 2015, Jill has spent some of her free time doing stand up comedy. She is the chaplain and community educator for Buckeye Hospice Care, where she can be found visiting patients and facilities with her favorite therapy dog, Lacey. Welcome, Jill.
That's Lacey right there. Well, that's a painting I did of Lacey. So I'll make
Cute.
Lacey get up here later and you can see if I'm a good painter or not. You can
I'm
also
sure you are.
tell that I don't like writing, what do you call it? Bios either. Sometimes
I actually really liked that. It's a unique one, and it
so
made
you got lucky.
it's just
Sometimes
unique.
sometimes I'll just respond with, "Here's my bio," and it'll say, "Jill likes short bios." That's it. Okay.
That's a good one too.
So, because I figure, especially when they go in, I'm like, nobody ever reads bios. They're boring. And so, yeah, so I like to at least make them interesting. And completely true. I was voted best girl camper, but my brother was there. He got voted best boy camper, and our older brother was the counselor. So there may have been some, like nepotism going on. I don't know. But I got a trophy, and that's all we're gonna say about that.
That's what
So, well,
matters.
I'm super excited to be back with you again. I just love anytime I get the opportunity to do anything with all the wonderful people with Vantage Aging, and so I thank you so much for having me back again. I also really love this program. Um, it's one that I've been doing for 4 years now, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I've gotten a lot out of it personally, so I hope other people get at least a fraction out of it that of what I've gotten out of it. So all those things were true. I am the chaplain and community educator for Buckeye Hospice Care. I've been hospice chaplain for just over 6 years, and I just love hospice, which I know is a super weird thing to say. It was actually funny when I first started pastoring my church 14 years ago. They had a woman interim pastor, and remember they told me, they go, "Oh yeah, she left to go do hospice." And I remember thinking, that is so sad that she couldn't find anything else to do. Like, I thought working in hospice sounded awful. So I don't know what it is about the people in my church that prepare people to do hospice work, but I've never found anything so fulfilling and great. And one of the things I love the most is just getting to meet these amazing people. A lot of times when I first meet them, they're still at a place where they can hold conversations and I can learn about them and all that kind of stuff. I never kind of know what I'm going to get when I walk into a patient's room for the first time. I suppose if I actually like looked at their chart or something, I'd know a little bit. But I'll never forget this one woman. I only knew a couple things about her before I went to see her. I knew she was about 90, and I had been told, oh, I knew she had a little dementia, but I had been told that she had been a high-powered business executive. That was the exact phrase that I was told. And I thought, she's 90 and had been a high-powered business executive. And I just can't even imagine the things that she would have experienced in her lifetime, that, what she had to do to become that. So I was super excited to go and see her. And I definitely didn't, know what I was going to expect or what to expect. So I do what I always do. I always kind of knock on the door, open it, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Jill. I'm the chaplain." And she cuts me off she goes, "Listen, I'm in meetings all day. If you don't have an appointment, I don't have time." I'm like, "Oh, apparently she's still a high-powered business executive as far as she knows." So I was like, "Oh, no, no." So I tried again. "No, I'm Jill. I'm the chaplain." I get cut off a second time. She goes, "And you seem like a strong, confident woman. You can go now." Oh, okay. Once you get kicked out, you got to leave. So I remember I went and talked to the people that work there, and they were like, "Oh yeah, she does that to us all the time. We just ignore her." So I went to visit her a few more times, and it was a little tamer. She didn't kick me out or anything. But I remember she had this she lived in this facility where she had like a little one bedroom, kind of an apartment. She had a kitchenette, a living room, and a bedroom. And usually she was in the living room, but this particular time I went, she was in the bedroom. She was still in bed, which was unusual. So I pulled a chair up and was kind of sitting there next to her. And I was talking, and she finally rolls over and she goes, "If I give you $10, will you go away?" Well, I'd have done it for 5, but sure, I'll take your $10. No, I'm kidding. I did not take money from that little old lady. Um, and then I remember one of the last times I went to see her, did my usual thing, knock on the door. "Hi, I'm Jill." She goes, "You need to wait in the other room." And I'm like, she was in the living room. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go into the bedroom, and then I'm in there for a minute, and I'm like, I'm worried about how long can I stay in there before, the dementia kicks in and she forgets I'm in there. And so I kind of wait a minute or two, and I peek around the corner, and I said, "Hi, I'm Jill. I'm the chaplain." She's like, "Did I call you?" I'm like, "No, ma'am." And I walked back in the other room. I think maybe I was there for a job interview that day. I'm not really sure. I also don't think I got the job. Um, but I just love these people that I get to meet doing hospice. And so chaplain, being chaplain is part of my job. The other part is community educator. So I really love that also. So I get to do a lot of public speaking, and I think that one of the reasons I get to do all this public speaking is because people know I do stand-up comedy, and I incorporate that into a lot of my speaking. Um, and so this program actually came about during COVID. Somebody got in touch with me one day and they said, "Hey, can you do a Zoom program for us?" I'm like, "Sure, what do you want?" And they said, "Oh, we want you to do stand-up comedy on Zoom." And I'm like, "That's a terrible idea. Like, you cannot do stand-up comedy on Zoom because everybody keeps their faces hidden like this, and they mute themselves so you don't get any feedback or laughter." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing stand-up comedy on a Zoom." And so they said, "Well, can you do a program and make it funny?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that I can do." So out of that came this program that has had a couple different names, and most recently it's been called the Happiness Habits. And that's because it's based on a book by a woman named Sonia Libomirsky. She wrote a book called The How of Happiness, and she calls herself a positive psychologist, which I find kind of interesting because that implies there are negative psychologists out there. And I don't know, I'm sure there are. But so in her book, she identifies 12 happiness activities. So these are activities that have actually been scientifically proven to make us happier. And I just found that fascinating because even though I'm very much a person of faith, I'm also very much a person of science. And so the fact that she studied years of research on happy and unhappy people to come up with this list, I think is pretty amazing. But she'll also be the first to tell you that not all 12 activities are going to work for everybody. And so, don't throw out the whole list just because maybe one or two of them, you don't identify with. Um, so I've read a lot about her book and about her. And one of my favorite articles about this book was in a publication called Greater Good Magazine. And the subtitle was Science Based Insights for a Meaningful Life. And I guess I wasn't surprised with a name like that that was published by the University of California at Berkeley. It sounded like kind of a Berkeley thing. So I want to go through these 12 happiness habits with you and kind of talk about them a little bit. So the first one is express gratitude. Express gratitude for what you have, either privately through prayer or contemplation or journaling. Whatever's a good way for you to express gratitude. Maybe send a thank you card. So back during COVID, when things, we were getting all separated from each other. I started doing these. I have a beautiful back porch on my house here, and so I started doing little back porch parties where I invite 3 people over, and we'd sit on my back porch, and we'd have a meal together and stuff like that. And I remember the first one I did, I invited kind of these 3 older ladies over, and so we had our little get together. And over the course of the next few days, one texted me this really nice thank you note. The other 2 sent me handwritten thank you notes, which I think is kind of a dying art form. And I was so shocked to get those, but it just meant so much. It made me so happy to get those thank you notes. So sending a thank you note is a great way to express your gratitude. or maybe let people know that maybe there's somebody you've never really properly thanked. Um, and you need to, or maybe you did thank them, but maybe because I remember I read this story one time about this woman. She had gotten one of her wedding gifts was this set of pans that somebody, and she remembered who gave them to her. And she used those pans like almost every day. And it was probably 20 years later, and she was still using those pans. And she sat down and she said she knew she would have written a thank you note when she received them, but she sat down and wrote another thank you note to the person who gave those to her, just telling them how much that meant to her, that she was still using these pans all these years later. And so I had the opportunity to do something similar when I first decided to go into the ministry. There was a program through my denomination that I could do. And so I filled out the application to get accepted into this program, and I just graduated college, so I was still paying off my college loans and stuff. And I'm sorry, I got something caught in my throat. I'm sorry. Can you give me just a second? I'm so sorry. I'm gonna I got
Of course, it's all
I
right.
gotta stop away just a second. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. I am so sorry. I just got something caught in my throat and I thought I was going to
That's
choke or
okay. I'm
something.
just glad
It
you're
was air.
okay.
Don't you hate when you choke on air? You're not supposed to do that. Um,
Yes.
anyway, so yeah, so I had started this ministry program. I was still paying my college loans. It was only $300 a year, but I did not have the $300 to pay for this ministry program. And this woman from my church, her and her husband paid for the first year for me. And I mean, if it weren't for her generosity, I 100% wouldn't be where I am today. I mean, that gift changed my life. And a few years back, I had the opportunity publicly to thank her and tell her that. And what the funniest thing, she did not remember even doing it. She had no recollection that she had done that for me. But it changed my life. And so it was so great to be able to thank her again, even though I know I had done it the first time. So I'm guessing that each of you can think of somebody right now that you could just reach out to and tell them thank you for something. Maybe, they did some random act of kindness for you. Maybe, it was just the right phone call at the right time or something. But I bet each of us can think of somebody that we could show a little gratitude to. So that's number one, is express gratitude. Number two is cultivate optimism. I think we have a tendency to think of ourselves as, well, we're either optimistic or we're a pessimist. We're either the glass half full or the glass half empty. But I like this idea that we can actually cultivate optimism. That's something that we can manifest in ourselves. um it is difficult sometimes to look on the bright side of every situation. Now it's funny, my sister is really good at this. I have a tendency, I'll get maybe annoyed with somebody, and I'll tell her about it and she'll immediately go, well, maybe they were having a bad day, maybe this was happening. Okay, she's right, but it's kind of annoying when she does that. But it's true. You just have to give people the benefit of the doubt. I have another friend who says, nobody gets up in the morning and says, whose life can I make miserable today? Like nobody really does that. Um, now I have to kind of make a little confession. I used to have an anger management issue, but only in my car. Yeah, I get a little annoyed with the slow driving. But that's not good because my job requires me to drive all over Northeast Ohio. So I need to kind of rein it in a little bit. And I thought about getting one of those bumper stickers that says, I'll manage my anger if you manage your stupid. But I didn't think it would look good next to my, Jesus is my co-pilot sticker. Um, so now, in an effort to cultivate optimism, I've just decided if somebody in front of me is driving really slow, they must be transporting a wedding cake, because why else would they possibly be driving that slow? And if I think on in those terms, I'm like, well, they must be doing something super important. And let's be honest, most of the time they're an older person and we want them to be as cautious as possible. So it is something that we can do. We can cultivate optimism. We can choose to be more optimistic and look on the brighter side of situations. So that's two. Number three, avoid overthinking. Oh, this is a hard one. For some of us, overthinking is like breathing. I mean, we're not proud of it, but it's true. I mean, so you think about it, you'll be sitting there and maybe you'll get this email from the boss that says, "Hey, I need to talk to you." Oh my goodness, our brain just explodes. It goes in 1,000 different directions. Before we respond, we spend hours mulling over like 23 different scenarios of what the problem could be. We call 23 different people to get their advice of what the situation could go and how it could go. Oh my gosh, overthinking, it steals our time. It definitely steals our happiness, all because of something that could be nothing. So avoid overthinking by dealing with things sooner rather than later. I mean, if you get that email from the boss, shoot an email right back that says, "Hey, I can meet right now. What you need? What's going on?" Don't give yourself time to overthink. Or if that's not possible, have one trusted friend that you can call and get really good advice from, and call them if you have to. Um, and the author, Sonia Livermore, she does give some really great and achievable advice under this one. Don't compare yourselves to others, because your first thought is, "Oh man, when the boss sent that email to so and so, they got reprimanded for something." Well, that was so and so. That's not you. Don't worry about what other people have done in this situation. You're you. You're not anybody else. Just do you. It's so funny, when I was young, my dad especially, when I would be wanting to do something, he was like, "Well, why do you want to do it?" "Well, my friends are doing it." He didn't usually do the, "If all your friends jumping off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge?" Oh no, he would do this thing where he'd go, "What's your name?" And I'd get annoyed and he'd be like, "What's your name?" I'd like, "My name's Jill." And he'd be like, "Jill what?" "Jill Smith." He goes, "That's right. You're Jill Smith. You're not anybody else." But that has really stuck with me. It doesn't matter what somebody else is going to do. Of course, it also came back to haunt them. Like the first time I like dyed my hair purple, and my mom was like, "Why did you do that?" I'm like, "Because I'm Jill Smith. I'm not like anybody else." I love when you can use your parents' words against them. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Anyway, so number three that we just did was avoid overthinking. Don't compare yourself to others. Four, practice acts of kindness. Do good things for other people. It doesn't matter if they're friends, if they're strangers, directly, anonymously, spontaneously, or planned. In fact, you're going to get an assignment. This is your assignment. You can do it you can still do it this week. It's only Tuesday. Someday this week, I want you to pick a day and I want you to do 5 random acts of kindness, all 5 in one day. You can do it to the same person. That might get a little creepy after a while because they're just going to wonder what's going on. Pick different people, whatever you can do, but do 5 random acts of kindness. When my nephews, gosh, they're 30 and 33 now, but when they were little, sometimes in the summertime, what we'd do, we'd pack a cooler full of ice water and we would drive around until we found a construction crew, and we'd pass out cold water to all the guys on the construction crew, just to kind of get them in that habit of looking for nice things to do for other people. So practice acts of kindness. Number 5 is nurture your social relationships. Pick a relationship that maybe is in need of strengthening, maybe a relationship or a friendship you just kind of haven't put any time into lately, and invest that time and energy. Heal it, cultivate it, enjoy it. So I'm one of those people. I don't do New Year's resolutions anymore. I think those are a lot of work. But back in 2016, I started doing this thing called one word. So I pick one word to focus on for the year. And I remember, gosh, my first year, the word was definitely all about me. Since then, I've tried to be a little more outward focused, and I've picked words that kind of help me try to be a better human being. And then what I do, I always I put the word on my phone, um, so that I see it every day. This year's word is contemplate. I knew as the year started, I was going to have a lot of stuff to contemplate, to think about, and just wanted to remind myself to just just spend that time that I needed to, just showing everything, just contemplating everything and thinking it over. So nurture your social relationships. Number 6, develop strategies for coping. You know, there's so many things that we plan for in our life, and we never plan for the difficult things. And yet we're always going to have them. There's going to be stresses, there's going to be hardships, there's going to be traumas. And so I believe that there are things that we can do to develop strategies for coping with these difficult things. So back in 2017, I spoke at an event in Akron. I don't know, Dana, if you've ever heard of this event. It's called Pecha Kucha. Have you heard of that?
No.
So okay, so some, I mean, it's because it was fairly popular here in Akron for a while. It actually started in Japan. The words pecha kucha in Japanese mean little conversation. And so there's pecha kucha all over the world. It's very similar to TED Talks, except for it's very stylized. I had been to one pecha kucha event and seen some people do them. And some people were encouraging me to do one, and so you have to submit your topic for approval. And so my topic was selected. And so I mentioned it's stylized. The format is called 20 by 20. So each participant uses 20 slides, and the slides advance automatically every 20 seconds. So the whole presentation is 6 minutes and 40 seconds. And I'm like, okay, I can pretty much listen to anything for 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So like I say, I had submitted a presentation, and it was selected, and I got to do it back in 2017. I'm going to kind of summarize it for you, and I'm not going to. I sometimes I show the slideshow, but then I remembered the first time I was showing the slideshow that I dropped the F-bomb in the middle of it. And listen, my mom was there that night; she was fine with it, but I've chosen instead just to recap it for people. So this is kind of my recap of it. It was Sunday, September 6th, on a sunny afternoon when my phone rang. I could see on the caller ID that it was my sister. Why would she be calling me when she knows I take Sunday afternoon naps? Her words still ring in my ears. Our brother Jeff is dead. He committed suicide. We never in a million years imagined he would do something like that. It rocked our world. Telling our parents was the hardest thing that I have ever had to do. And I was not prepared to cope with the overwhelming grief. Sure, I had lost a couple of loved ones, but they were losses where I could say, well, they were old. They had lived a long life. They had been sick, so we saw it coming. This was not like that. How could I cope with the grief and the sadness? Well, I did what seemed like the best idea at the time. I took a stand-up comedy class. Was not the best idea at all. But I thought if I was laughing, it would be harder to cry. But I have to admit, I did not sign up for the stand-up comedy class willingly. A friend signed me up. In fact, I still remember the day that he and I were talking on the phone. This was only a few weeks after we'd lost my brother. And he said something, and I made some smart aleck comment like I usually do. And he said, have you thought about taking a stand-up comedy class? And I said, it's funny you say that. I knew he had taken one years earlier. Earlier that summer, I had looked for one, did a Google search. I couldn't really find anything anywhere around Northeast Ohio where there was one. And he goes, well, there's one happening in next month in Cleveland. He goes, do you want to take it? And I said, no. He's like, well, why not? I'm like, well, why not? I've just been through this horrible thing. No, that's a horrible idea. And so he kept talking, and I kept telling him no. And finally he's like, will you just think about it? So I do that thing that I'm told parents do to their children where they go, sure, I'll think about it, but they have no intention of thinking about it at all. No, I had made up my mind. I was not doing this. Well, a couple minutes later, I get a text message because my friend's a big chicken. And the text message says, you're in. So I send a text message back that says, you're in hot water. What am I in? Well, when he called to ask about the class, turns out the instructor only took 10 students at a time and he already had 8 signed up. So my friend just signed he and I up for the last 2 spots. And I'll be honest, it was kind of easy to incorporate my brother Jeff into my stand up comedy. He was a funny guy, but he was also a terrible big brother. Now, it gave me great stories to tell, and I know you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, but I'll be honest, the truth is the truth. Here, let me give you a few examples. So growing up, we didn't have a dishwasher, and so Jeff washed the dishes and I dried. He thought it was funny to rinse the pans in scalding hot water. So when I picked him up to dry them, I would burn my hands. He was a terrible big brother. Oh, there was the time he convinced me shortening was the same as frosting and got me to eat a big spoonful of it. Yeah, no, he was not. Or the time when we were physically fighting and he held me down and touched a 9-volt battery to my braces. No, he was mean. He was a mean brother. And I will never forget, we were in the same Sunday school class, probably middle school, high school age. And one week the teacher said, next week, I want you to come in and share with everybody what your favorite Bible verse is. And I was like, okay, and I take assignments very seriously, and my brother didn't really. And so the next week, we get in the Sunday school class, and she's like, who would like to share? And my brother's hand goes up, and I'm like, he's never even opened the Bible. I don't know why he's raising his hand. And then so she calls on him, Jeff, do you want to share your favorite Bible verse? And he goes, yes, it's in Deuteronomy. And I'm like, now I know he's lying because he's definitely never looked at the Old Testament. Not a chance. He goes, it's Deuteronomy 23:12. I have since memorized that verse. It says, and you shall go outside the camp and dig a hole and relieve yourself there. Yeah, that's what my brother said was his favorite Bible verse. Oh, my stars. I can't believe it. So I tell you all of this as a cautionary tale because this one is about developing strategies for coping. You need to be prepared to cope with difficult times, or you may end up being a stand-up comedian, and I don't recommend that to anybody. So so I was also very fortunate during that time. I had surrounded myself with a very few, very close, very amazing friends that helped me through that very difficult time. And so even though I probably hadn't consciously prepared myself to deal with a difficult situation, I was prepared because of the wonderful people that I had around me, and they helped me get through that. And I mentioned when I was talking about earlier that I do this one word each year, and I had started in 2016. And I said that first year was kind of all about me. Well, my brother passed away in 2015. And so as that year wrapped up and I was, still dealing with it, just reeling from his loss, I decided to start doing the one word. And so 2016, I did it for the first time. And my word for that year was just breathe, because I just felt like there were some days where I just needed that reminder to just keep a deep breath and keep going on. And I actually got the word from the great American philosopher Jimmy Buffett. You may have heard of him. He had a song that he wrote right after Hurricane Katrina, and the opening lyrics of the song say, "I bought a cheap watch from a crazy man floating down canal. It doesn't have numbers or moving hands. It only just says now." Well, you may be thinking that I was had, but this watch is never wrong. The warranty says breathe in, breathe out, move on. And so, no matter what thing is happening right now, no matter how bad it might be, we need to breathe in, breathe out, and move on and move through those difficult situations. So that was number 6. We need to cope with difficult times. Number 7, we need to learn to forgive. This is a huge one. And forgiving is not about the other person ever. It's 100% about us. Holding on to something negative that somebody has done to you is only going to hurt you. So whether, you just do it in your mind, maybe you do it in a journal, you do one of those things where you write the letter and then you burn it or you throw it away, whatever. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight. It could take years. It could take decades. This dear man from my church, I remember, as us ministers are known to do, we occasionally preach on forgiveness. And I had done that one Sunday, and he came up to me afterwards and he just looked at me and he said, Jill, I can't forgive them. And I said, I know. And what he was talking about was his son-in-law was lost in one of the Twin Towers on 9/11. And so I knew who he was talking about, who he said he couldn't forgive. And I said, I'm not asking you to, not right now, not yet. And I've known Steve for over a decade now. And I don't know if I asked him if he would say he's forgiven him. I don't think he could say those words, but I also have seen how his heart has changed, and it has softened, and he does feel differently about things now. So we really, really need to learn to forgive. Number 8, we need to do this thing called increase flow experiences. This has nothing to do with that lady from Progressive Insurance. Flow experiences are just anything you do that you can lose yourself in. There's a lady at my church. She's a cross stitcher. She cross stitches like a crazy person all the time. She can do it while she's doing anything else. It just gives her hands something to do. She loses herself in cross stitch. Good for. I hear there are people that consider exercise a flow experience. That sounds awful to me. But some people love exercising, they love running, that kind of thing. Maybe that's it for you. Reality TV is kind of my flow experience. I can get lost watching all those crazy people on TV and thinking I don't look so bad now. So increase your flow experiences. Number 9, savor life's good moments. Just pay attention. There are good things that are always happening around us. We need to just kind of focus on those. It's so easy to focus on the negative, but let's focus on the good instead. Write things down when they go well. Number 10, commit to your goals. I don't care how old you are. It's good to have goals or have a bucket list, anything like that. And then use your strengths to achieve the goals that you've set. Number 11, practice some kind of religion or spirituality. Again, these are all scientifically proven. It's been scientifically proven that religious, spiritual people are happier. And I think it's because they have that faith community around them that helps them through so much. And number 12, take care of yourself, take care of your body, exercise, of course, but meditate, smile, laugh, all those kinds of things. So there you have it. There are those 12 things. Be grateful, optimistic, kind, and forgiving. Don't overthink. Nurture your relationships. Find ways to cope with stress. Immerse yourself in something you enjoy. Savor the good times. Set goals. Be spiritual and take care of yourself. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jill, you've known about this list for a while. What's it done for you? Well, it's done a lot for me. It has made me happier. It has made me focus outward more than inward. And so I just want to encourage you to put yourself out there, do some good things for other people, and feel what happens. Feel that happiness and feel that joy. It will do wonders for your life. Nothing else. It's been scientifically proven to do so. So thanks so much for listening to me today.
Thank you for all of those great tips and advice.
Absolutely.
Um, I appreciate them, and I when we talk to caregivers, we're always kind of talking about simple ways that people can kind of take care of themselves. And I know that
Right.
the 12th one was take care of yourself, but I actually feel
Right.
like all of them are taking care of yourself, like are
Right.
ways to take care of yourself. Just
Yeah.
kind of saying it in different ways. Um, and and I think it can be simple to find ways to express gratitude or to nurture your social relationships and things like that. I
Yeah.
do think it's hard when you look at a list to maybe tackle all of them. Do you have any suggestions for someone who's like, I'm so busy being a caregiver and I want to tackle some of these, but I don't know where to start? Do you have any
Well,
tips?
yeah. So I think one of the things we always neglect ourselves in caregiving. And everybody's at different stages. I mean, some people are, where they can maybe leave the person that they're caring for, maybe, or maybe they're in another space or in maybe a nursing home or something, you're still the caregiver. But if that person is in your space and you struggle to leave that space, to be away from them or whatever, then that's when something like, increase those flow experiences. Find something, even if it's something you can do in the house or maybe you love gardening. Get out and get in the dirt and do it. You're still there, you're still close by for them. Um, and express gratitude. You could sit down and write that thank you note. Maybe somebody comes over and spends an hour with, your person, and that gives you the opportunity to maybe go out for lunch or even go grocery shopping or something. Don't forget to send them that thank you note and just let them know how much you appreciate it. Because again, it's going to make you feel good to write that note also. So I think there are several of those that, as difficult as it can be, and then of course, develop the strategies for coping, find stuff to help you through this difficult time. I think as caregivers, we're always so quick to go, oh, nobody else can do this besides me. Well, give them the opportunity. Give them the opportunity to, for sure. So yeah, I think there's several of them that we can be doing, even if we're with our person that we're caring for all the time.
I agree, and I love the increased flow experiences. I guess I hadn't referred to it as that. I was thinking more so like body movement. But I like the phrase of like losing yourself in something. I often encourage people because I love to laugh as well. I'm not funny like you, but I love to laugh. Um, so I'll say, even if it's like you watch like a clip from a TV show that you love that's on YouTube that makes you laugh, so you can kind of just
Right.
lose yourself in that for a little bit. And I was laughing during your presentation. I know you can hear me,
Good.
but it made me laugh. So I think those things are wonderful to do for ourselves, even if it's a little bit of escapism for a little bit, it still
Right.
is losing yourself in something that you enjoy.
Right. And there's a great YouTube channel. It's called Dry Bar Comedy, and it's all clean comedy. And I know people are sometimes like, ooh, do those two words go in the same sentence, clean and comedy? But they do. And everything on the Dry Bar channel, and there are just, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of different comedians. So you can find a new comedian that you really like, but it's all clean too. Yeah, don't ask me why. One of the clips I love the best. There was a clip from the Kelly Clarkson show, and she had Anne Hathaway on, and they were doing this game where the band would play the start of a song, and the first one to step up and start singing it would like get the point. And my favorite was I think it was the last song they did. Anne Hathaway's like got the first one, got the second one, and Kelly Clarkson's like, play a song I know. So they start this third song, Anne Hathaway, and it was a Kelly Clarkson song. It was the funniest. Like, I can't tell you how many times I like having a bad day. I would just look that clip up and watch it because yeah, Kelly Clarkson literally like collapsed onto she couldn't believe she didn't know her own song.
I have seen that clip and I have watched it many times myself, and it makes
Yes.
me laugh every
Every
time.
time. Every time.
Yeah, I finding things that make you laugh is a wonderful thing. So I am going
Yes.
to look up the dry bar comedy.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's
That sounds
great.
great.
They've got a Facebook page too. Yeah.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna look that up. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Put that in our info too.
There you go.
Does anyone have any questions? I always have questions, so I
Oh
already bugged you with mine.
yeah.
Anybody has anything?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say hi, Jill. I miss you from Westlake
How
Tower.
are you? I'm gonna have to get back over there. I'm gonna call you, okay?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Okay, we'll do that. Because yeah, I'm with a
Thanks.
new company now.
Aw. Well, thanks for commenting and saying hi. Thank you for being here
Yeah.
too.